So why did Trump's former personal attorney, now second in command at the Department of Justice, sit down for a 2-day, soft and sweet interview with a convicted child sex trafficker?
We're continuing the proper interview with Miss Maxwell. The time is 11:07 a.m. on Thursday, July 24th.
After listening to the audio and reading the transcripts twice, there could only be one answer. This was all to protect Trump. Clearly, deals are being made off mic, behind the scenes.
And I'm Ghislaine Maxwell.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gloria Moraga. This is the Political Woman Podcast. Please take a moment and subscribe to my channel and take some time to follow me. I do post the latest political news every day, and I promise I will keep you updated and informed. So back to the story. Let's begin in the middle. This is the soundbite about Trump.
And you mentioned that early, in the very beginning of the conversation, you mentioned President Trump in the early 90s.
Yes.
What did you observe as far as President Trump and his relationship with you or Mr. Epstein?
Well, I just want to say for my relationship with President Trump, relationship's a big word, but I just want to say that I met him, or I believe I may have, because of my father in the 90s.
Yep. Okay.
So my father liked him very much, and he really liked his wife as well, because they were both Czechoslovakian. And as far as I'm concerned, President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me. And I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him. So that is the sum and substance of my entire relationship with him.
What about Mr. Epstein's relationship with him?
I don't know how they met, and I don't know how they became friends. I certainly saw them together, and I remember the few times I observed them together that they were friendly. I mean,
Was that in social settings or was that in private settings?
I believe I only ever saw them in social settings. I don't recall any private settings.
What Maxwell did do in this interview is she proved that she is not a threat to the orange dementia dawn.
Have you ever been to Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach?
I have.
And what time period are you thinking about when you say yes?
Well, I don't remember when the president purchased Mar-a-Lago, so from whenever it turned into a club, I went there, and loved going there.
Did you go there alone or with Mr. Epstein?
Mostly alone. Only times I went there was for an event, maybe once or twice.
And do you know whether Mr. Epstein ever went there?
I believe he did, but again, we really were, he didn't take me with him all the time, so he would go and, oh, right. Well, he did from time to time, but he would go alone. I think he would maybe go himself to the spa. I certainly did.
Did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never.
Did you ever observe, you said that have you seen there's photographs, public photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together?
Yes.
And there's photographs of, I think you're in some of the photographs as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes. That's my memory. If there were social settings, I don't know Epstein's. If he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
When's the last time you think you saw in person President Trump?
It's been a long time. Probably not. Sometime in the beginning mid-2000s maybe, and it would only have been a social setting, as far as I recall.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never,
And,
in any context.
Do you know whether masseuses from Mar-a-Lago Spa ended up giving massages to, private massages to Mr. Epstein? And I'm not asking for what you may have read, but from, at the time, from your personal knowledge, do you know whether that's true?
I don't recall. Is it possible? Yes. But I don't remember that. So I don't recall that, but it's possible.
Do you have recollection of you ever recruiting a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago Spa to go give a private massage to Mr. Epstein?
I've never recruited a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago for that, as far as I remember. I can't ever recollect doing that.
Here, Maxwell is trying to establish that she's just so innocent. She doesn't know anything about anything, unless it was a social party, and how much she just admires Donald Trump. Wow.
Did you observe over the years the folks we're talking about, or others, which we can talk about, getting massages from young women?
So I think it's really helpful to understand a few things that has been missed in this whole mishigas.
She doesn't answer the question.
Let's answer the top
Right.
line question
Right.
and then get into it.
Okay, the top line question is,
Did you ever see any of these people with underage
no,
women?
so the reason I'm saying that is not to avoid that question, but it's because by the time when you were talking in the 90s, I don't think he was there.
She doesn't answer the question. For background, besides Maxwell and Blanche, the convicted felon, Maxwell, and the loser lawyer, Blanche, and I say that because he's the dude who was working for Trump. When Trump lost his case, that's why Trump is a convicted felon. But he bends the knee to Trump, so he's got this job. And I don't know, for a moment, listening to these tapes, I felt sorry for him, because it's like, this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. And besides these two, there were also attorneys for Maxwell in the room and attorneys from DOJ. They all kind of spoke up and said their names. And it's a fact that Blanche and one of Maxwell's attorneys are friends. So it's just dirty all around. My two big takeaways: Maxwell is a big liar. She is a big liar. And the other one, Blanche was clearly looking for dirt on Democrats. And I'm thinking, this is so Trump can do what he's doing to everybody these days. Blackmail them. And it is disgusting, because this is what our Department of Justice is now doing. So an example of this is the questioning about Bill Clinton. Here's that soundbite.
Do you know whether, for example, President Clinton ever received a massage?
I don't believe he did.
And what makes you say you don't believe he did?
Well, because I don't, so that's a good question. The time that Epstein and President Clinton spent together, the only times, I believe, well, obviously they traveled. There was that, they claim they went on the plane 26 times or whatever. That would be one journey. So they spent time on the plane together, and I don't believe there was ever a massage on the plane. So that would have been the only time that I think that President Clinton could have even received a massage, and he didn't, because I was there.
All right, so going back, the beginning of the interview was fairly boring. It was background on how Maxwell met Epstein, background on her family, and the way she made it sound, two things. One, her family, she's not that rich, which is a big lie. But she really made it sound like, oh, my daddy didn't really have anything. This is bullshit. My daddy just bought yachts, but he didn't really have money. The dude was one of the most powerful men in the world in his heyday. And yeah, he had money. But she just, oh no, poor little me. Oh, woe is me. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any way to support myself. And then I met Jeffrey, but it wasn't really about sex. They rarely had sex.
You said a minute ago that that you had slept with him on one occasion, and at the time you remember thinking, that this meant you were in a relationship, but then it didn't. You really were not in that type of relationship. Did that change over between 91 and 92 or whatever, and years forward?
So
Go ahead. It's okay. Talk. So you stayed. So when you would travel with him to his houses in Palm Beach, Ohio, or even just traveling, if it was just traveling with him, you would stay in the same bed. So sleep in the same bed with him.
yes.
Okay.
Maxwell admits in this interview that Epstein lied to her about his fake heart condition. All of the stuff, when she talks about her relationship with Epstein, she downplayed everything. Well, we weren't that close. Yeah.
Let's go back. Whatever happened in 2005, and he became arrested in 2006.
So when he's charged and arrested in what we'll call the Florida investigations, that's what you're talking about.
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
So I was not in. Well,
Well, were you part of that investigation?
absolutely not.
Did law enforcement ever talk to you as
No.
part of that? Did you, the feds never talked to you? The
No.
FBI never talked to you?
No. I
you
never
know-
even received a phone call.
So you didn't receive a subpoena?
No.
Did the state law enforcement ever reach out to you?
No.
As far as you know, did the government, either state or federal, subpoena your bank records or subpoena anything from your financial life during that time, that time?
Not as far as I'm aware. Now, if they did, I don't know it, and I have no idea about that. I didn't even know I didn't even understand.
Okay.
I didn't have a context for that. It was
Okay.
like I didn't even know. I didn't know.
So here's some of my brief takeaways. Maxwell and Epstein were not really that close. Big lie. And all of the massages were given by adults. Lie.
I just want to say for the record that I do believe that Epstein did a lot of, not all, but some of what he's accused of. And I'm not here to defend him in any respect whatsoever. I don't want to. And I don't think he requires, nor deserves, any type of protection or for me in any way to sugarcoat what he did or didn't do. So there's that. However, the man I met and the man he became, I believe that there is a progression. And I don't think that the man I met is the man that he became. I believe he became that man over a period of time. Now, we can discuss anything you want, and I'll tell you everything I know. But I think somebody who has an interest, however you define that, in underage people is obviously someone who is unwell. But I don't think that you wake up one day and you start doing what he's accused of. I think this is something that you develop or you progress to.
One of the ways that Mr. Epstein befriended his clients or took care of them, or some would say blackmailed them, was by encouraging them to interact with women, underage or not.
So I think in the 90s he may have encouraged them, but these were people who were in their 20s or 30s.
So
May
I
have, so
understand
he
that.
would have a masseuse, right? And he did, male and female, by the way, in the 90s. It's never been discussed. Both in yoga and everything, there were men as well as women. And so if he would travel, and I can show them to you, I highlighted them on the flight record so you could see that there really were men that were also there. He would say, would you like to do yoga with Tito, or would you like a massage with this one? But they would be in their late 20s and professional masseuses.
So
I think there's a distinction.
and I want to talk about actual individuals here, and I understand the distinction between somebody who's an adult and someone who's underage. But even with somebody who's an adult, did you know Mr. Epstein to encourage folks to do that, whether it's a client or somebody else?
I certainly witnessed him. So if you were staying with him and you had a massage, that he would often travel with a masseuse. He would say, "Hey, would you like a massage?" And he did do that, yes.
But would you or him or anybody else follow up with the masseuse afterwards to find out if there was any inappropriate sexual contact?
I never did, no.
So meaning, and then coming back to the blackmail issue,
Oh, I
there's
see.
nothing wrong
Sorry.
with getting a massage, of course not. Especially, especially if somebody's obviously an adult and masseuse. I'm not quibbling with that. But my question is that there's a lot of accusations that one of the way Mr. Epstein was successful was through this idea of blackmail. And yes, young women and is a crime. Children is a crime.
Absolutely.
But even women over the age of 18, if Mr. Epstein encouraged these men or whomever to get massages and have inappropriate sexual contact with the masseuses, that's a separate issue, maybe slightly nuanced. But did you ever know him to do that?
No, I never did, absolutely, myself. I never heard him ask someone. I never heard that. No one, in the entire time I was with him or friends with him or had anyone, no one ever reported to me or came to me and said that anything inappropriate happened or was upset by it. I never saw ever any of that.
And when you say no one ever reported to me, meaning like the masseuses or
Never.
any of the house staff?
Never.
Or the clients.
Or the clients themselves?
Never.
She never, ever, ever recruited young women for him and others. A jury disagreed. She was convicted. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison for her crimes after women stood up and bravely testified and went through being slandered and slammed and had mud thrown at them by her fancy rich attorneys. Convicted, and Blanche tiptoes around and soft pedals all this, and it's disgusting.
And if I met somebody who I thought was a good masseuse or masseur, I introduced them. And because I got them and he asked me if I did, and I said yes. And I'm pretty sure that would have, well, I can't remember, 93, 92, early,
Okay.
from the beginning.
So go ahead. So then what happens over the next, there's a ton of writing and a ton of, I guess, testimony as well, but also public reporting about how the recruiting was a very aggressive effort that you were a part of, that he was a part of, and others, to try to find more and more masseuses. What is that true, and what role did you have in that?
That is partially true.
Okay.
So it is true that I found masseuses, and he became more insistent. He like knew all the time. He got bored, so he would be bored with a masseuse, and he would say, "Find me a new masseuse." And in my effort to find them, I would go to massage spas, like legitimate spas. We're not talking, funky ones that people have. So, if I got a massage from somebody in a spa that I liked, I asked them if they would do home visits. If they said yes, I would ask them to come to the house, and he would see if he liked them or not. But these were people who worked in spas. I never ever checked their age, and I never checked their credentials. I never asked for a certificate.
What?
But just to be clear, you never thought anybody was under 18?
I never crossed.
Okay.
No, that was never that was never a drive.
What did you know at the time about him, Mr. Epstein, requiring masseuses to be naked, or requiring masseuses to either perform sexual favors for Mr. Epstein, or to be there if Mr. Epstein masturbated, or things like that?
I'm not sure that I thought about that in those contexts at all until his arrest and those papers came out. But I believe the subject of the question that you're asking me, I believe started in the 2000s.
Maxwell plays dumb throughout the interview, and she makes it clear that there was a before and after with Epstein. Before, when everything was just nice and normal. And then after their kind of breakup, where she wasn't with him very much, that's when he got weird and kinky. But she still defends him, and she still plays dumb a lot. And here's an example of her defending him.
this notion that he blackmailed men, we don't really have to go there, that he wasn't a businessman and that everything he did was a fraud or a funk or whatever. I don't believe that to be true.
Why?
Sorry?
Why do you, so you say you don't believe it to be true, but show me why you think that.
Okay.
Just from, I know you've been talking about it, that he was very conscientious, he was very good at math, paid a lot of attention to his clients, but yes, you're right, there's allegations of blackmail, or also that there was some level of fraud involved in what he did, and you don't believe it. Why do you say that?
Well, let me rephrase that. If there was fraud, I never saw it. What I saw, or what I felt, when I ran that office. I was responsible for the staff. People worked. There were lawyers. There were accountants. I never heard him. I never felt anything. I don't know, icky.
Did you ever see him blackmail
Never.
a client? Did
No.
you ever see him blackmail a friend or an acquaintance?
Never.
Well, so I think when folks talk about blackmail, and we can talk about, sorry about that. We can talk about that now. There are a lot of allegations about him, which we should talk about, and we can do that now, and the fact that he abused young women.
Yes.
Full stop, okay? Which means, the way that I'm defining abuse, as has been widely reported, is that he would cause young women in high school to be recruited to come to his house and give him massages, and as part of that, he would sexually abuse them. Okay?
Yes.
So I want to talk about that, but as it relates to blackmail, the question is whether you're aware of any time that any of the individuals we're talking about, and we'll talk about others, receive massages from women who are under 18 or may have been under 18, and that whether there was any sexual assaults or sexual contact between any of these people and those masseuses, which would have allowed then Mr. Epstein potentially to blackmail them and say, you have to continue to work with me, or you have to give me money, or else I'm going to tell the world that you did this.
Right. I think this is a really good place to start with how this story began.
Okay.
So let's assume that premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody, going to say, you had inappropriate relations with an underage girl. If you don't have video or photographic evidence, I'm not sure that even the FBI would take that, well, maybe today, but certainly not back then, would take that seriously. So I built those houses, many of them. I decorated those houses. I put the electricians in for the wiring. I never wired nor saw a single house that had any type of inappropriate, let's say, video surveillance, and I'll define that for you. Inappropriate surveillance would mean in a bathroom, in a bedroom, in any private area of a home.
In a room where there were massages given.
Inappropriate. I would say I would define appropriate surveillance to be the front door of a house, or potentially, as in 71st Street, the physical plant. Anywhere else would be grotesque.
Grotesque. Yeah, she's grotesque because everybody knows it only takes a second, even in the old days, to set up a VHS, to set up a camera, one of those old cameras, and take pictures and take videos. And Blanche knows when Epstein was arrested, VHSs and other still photos were confiscated by the FBI. How stupid do they think we are? Here's Blanche going on with this BS.
Did you ever, how about photographs? Did you ever observe Mr. Epstein or anybody around him take pictures of anybody in compromising positions with women or with anybody?
No.
Did you ever hear when you were present for conversations that Mr. Epstein was having or others were having, anybody accuse him of blackmailing them or of trying to extort them because of something Mr. Epstein knew?
No.
There have been, and you, in the discovery you got in the New York case, okay?
Yes.
And in the civil cases that you've been part of associated with Mr. Epstein, have you ever been given or ever been told that video exists like what we're talking about, or photos were taken that that were compromising?
So in both of those, I received no pictures or anything from the civil case. But in the criminal case, I received videos of Epstein talking to women and stuff like that. I did get those. I also saw binders of photographs of women, indeterminate. I never saw anything. Well, I don't know how old some of these women were. There were definitely some of the victims from Palm Beach, the photographs of them without clothing.
In those photographs, were the victims that were photographed, were there any of the people you've talked about, like were there men with the victims, or were they just photographs of the victims?
There was no men with these pictures. There was no client of his with those pictures. They would be standalone, for want of a better word, like modeling shots. If you were, I don't know.
Pictures that Epstein had with the girls, but not Epstein with the clients and the girls.
Correct.
Did you, I understand you said you got those in the discovery. Did you know those pictures like that existed? So right now I'm talking about photographs of victims or photographs of women that Mr. Epstein had on his computer or wherever he had them. Did you know that those photos existed before you got them in discovery?
Some of them, absolutely, because they were in his house. Some of these pictures were on his, credenza or whatever. Okay. Some pictures I'd simply never seen before. I mean, I'd never seen some of them. Some of them I had, some of them I hadn't.
And finally, Maxwell contends that she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything wrong. That it wasn't her. That the victims who testified at trial under oath confused her for somebody else, for another woman with short dark hair. It was a maid or somebody else that she mentions, but then they get off the subject because her lawyer interrupts and stops her. Here's that soundbite.
And I want to understand whether you believe that nobody that came to give massages, none of the women were under 18, or that you didn't focus on their age, but you were more focused on whether any underage woman was abused by him.
My understanding is that in 2008, they had interviewed 44 women, let's say, or around that number. Mm-hmm. Oh, you have to understand, not a single one of those 44 women mentioned me in a single... They didn't mention me in the report because they never met me, they never saw me, and they never interacted with me. So, to go back to your question, it's not that I thought one way or another, it's that I didn't see them. When I say not one single one of those reports talks about me. And I just want to clarify exactly, because I'm obviously aware that one of those girls was one of the witnesses in my trial. In her first FBI meeting, she reports seeing a woman with short dark hair at the house, which then is used as evidence that that person was myself. But the maid, the lady who helped keep the house, John Alessi's wife, with an accent, I believe she says. John Alessi's wife had short dark hair and an accent. I'm sorry, but I find, and you can ask yourselves this, I mean, I've obviously modified my accent. I've been in America a long time, but I'm British. I've been brought up with a very strong British accent. And I don't believe there's American on planet Earth that doesn't recognize this to be British or Australian, maybe, if you really don't know. But it's not some random accent. Now, the Hispanic, maybe. Okay, that was John's wife that she saw, not me.
Here are some other takeaways. She says there was no client list. You know, I've said all along there may not be a list that he had, but they had little black books, both of them. Once the files got turned over to lawyers, the lawyers made a list. So that's clearly a lie. She also said she believes Epstein did not commit suicide, and she denies that Epstein worked for Israeli intelligence. No client list. Trump's just the nicest guy that ever lived. She never saw him do anything, which is like it's another big lie. Bottom line, this was all just a fake out to get our minds off of the Epstein files. And my response to all that, release the files, release them now. As far as the backroom deals with this convicted felon, this child abuser, she needs to go back to the heavy-duty prison. You know, she's at the softy prison now where they train puppies, and the softy prison where they do yoga every morning. The woman is a convicted sex trafficker. She needs to go back to jail, period. And what they're doing is, this whole interview, the tone of it, and how it was all set up, is to get her a pardon. And so we shall see what they do, because I'm expecting it to come. I'm Gloria Moraga, political woman. Please subscribe and be safe.